So, not done a video for a while, so a little bit of an update and a little bit of a how-to video today. So, from the first video, you can see the truck is looking quite a bit different, and mainly down to the sandblasting, really. So, basically, to clean the chassis up, this is all we used. So first of all, we went over the chassis with a needle gun like this. This is just a Clark one from Machine Mart. About 60 quid this were, but they got absolutely hammered. So we were literally breaking one every couple of days. So I had to keep going back to Machine Mart and swapping them under warranty. The hammers kept snapping inside. So I kept flipping between two different Machine Marts so they didn't get annoyed with me. But all the heavy rust, the big, thick, flaky rust, is a lot easier just to whiz over with a needle gun first. The blast will get the heavy stuff off, but you'll just be there forever with it. So go over it with a needle gun, over all the heavy rust. Get that all chipped away, literally just to kind of leave the surface rust. You want some ear defenders though, because when that's been ringing in your ears for God knows how long, you'll know about it. Also some eye protection. So went over all the chassis with that, and then we moved on to the sandblaster. This is, I think it's about an 80 litre pot. So basically it's a pressure pot. The airline goes into the back. The airline, I've nicked the fitting off there, but goes into there. It pressurizes the pot, which is where you put the blast in, and then it goes down to the bottom, to the tap underneath. To the tap underneath, which you adjust for how much basically volume of sand you want coming out. So I'll talk about the pressure first. My compressor is a 30 cmf compressor. These say you should run about 80 psi. My compressor goes up to 150, but it uses that much air. It never really got up to pressure anyway, so I didn't really regulate it. It's got a blow-off valve on there anyway, so it just kept blowing off if it did get a bit over pressure. The downside with it is because the compressor was running all the time, the air was getting quite warm. So because I was doing it outside and I was just getting towards winter now, I was finding that I was getting a lot of condensation on the bottom, but I was also getting that inside. And the problem is when you blast in and you get moisture in there, it starts clogging it up. So spent a lot of time having to take the pipes off, get out the damp sand, unclog it. Pain in the arse. So I was using a fine glass, which is this stuff. It's really fine stuff, and I was putting that through. This is a new style gun, so this originally came with like a tap on it and just a nozzle, but they're not very good. Whereas this, you can squeeze the trigger and obviously it just opens it up. I was using a 3 or a 3.5mm nozzle. They do wear out quite quickly. I was finding the end was wearing out, this rubber coating, so it wouldn't shut off anymore. So I ended up using 3 guns. We'll wait till that starts. Right, sorry about that. Someone's knocking 10 bells out of something next door. So yeah, I was saying, I brought this new style gun off Amazon. It's about 24 quid or something like that. But like I say, the ends wear out. So this is one that ended up wearing out. As you can see, the rubber started to go, and also the plate there that shuts it off had also worn. So I got to a point where I couldn't shut it off and it was just sand spraying everywhere. So if you're doing a big job, you might need to get a couple of nozzles. Another thing, you want a good mask. I say good mask, a full face mask. This was just a cheap Amazon mask again, because dust, it gets everywhere. But I ended up using 3 of these just because it was bouncing back into the visor and I couldn't see a bloody thing. But again, these were about 20 quid off Amazon, so at that price, it kind of a bit throwaway. I wouldn't use an expensive mask. I did buy one of the hoods, but you need an air feed to it, otherwise it just steams up and you can't breathe. But I didn't get one of them in the end. So yeah, I'll show you the video now of me needling it and blasting it. And yeah, we'll just talk through what's going on there. So as you can see, it's just a short clip. I've taken away the sound of the needle gun because no one wants to listen to that racket. As you can see, I'm just needling over all the heavy rust on this brake drum here. All the heavy stuff's just flaking off. The blast would get this off, but it would just waste a lot of media and a lot of time. And obviously, wasting media is wasting money. It chips it off really well, gets it down to basically just the surface rust. I went over the whole chassis, anywhere that was accessible, just kept going over with this needle gun until all the big flakes were flaked off. Just fast forward it to this section. It shows you really how effective it is at getting all that heavy built up rust off. Just big chunks, really satisfying. Once all these big chunks were off, this drum was ready for blasting. So here's a little clip of me actually blasting in action. I turned down the volume of this just because it's quite loud. As you can see, it's quite effective at getting off the old rust and paint. I found with this setup it will get paint off pretty easily. Powder coat not so much, just with it being so tough. But as you can see, it's just dust and particles going everywhere. So just went over the whole chassis, got in all the nuts and crannies everywhere I could, best I could, and yeah, it just took hours and hours. And here's one of the blockages I was talking about. Using the gun, all of a sudden it blocks. So this particular time I just had to drain down the pressure from the pot so I could safely unscrew the nozzle to unblock it. This is just caused by the moisture in the lines making the sand damp, and then fire it up to the nozzle and it just jams it up. So I just had to strip it down, tap the stuff out the nozzle, clear the line, and then get going again. So just a quick note, every time I drain the pot down, I shut the mixing tap off at the bottom, and then when I pressure the pot up again, I open the nozzle, open the gun, and then just slowly open the nozzle at the bottom to get the mixture right. You don't want too much sand, but obviously you want enough that it's going to do the job. This particular time I was blasting for around about 50 minutes, got nearly one whole side of the chassis completed. Dead easy when it's accessible, just gets a bit more tricky on the intricate parts. I've sped this section up because I appreciate it's probably a bit boring just watching someone sandblast the chassis. Just a note, I was getting sand in my socks, in my ears, absolutely everywhere. Even in zipped pockets it was getting through. To be honest, the video doesn't really do the amount of justice of how much dust there is that's coming off here and how much blast media is firing back at yourself. But just to take note, you want some good protection because it does come clean when it hits you. These gloves that I've got on are like a winter style rubberized glove. I just picked up from Tool Station, but they really did the job well. As you can see in this clip, the truck is nearly all primed now. I use a 2K epoxy primer, filler primer, just to help give it a better finish. I was priming it in sections as it was such a big area to do. I couldn't leave the metal bare for too long, otherwise it would have just started to rust again. And here we are, moving on to paint. Here I used a 2K black satin paint. Comes in a 2-part paint, so it has the hardener with it. Obviously I'm painting it outside. It's not the warmest of temperature, but I didn't have any issues with it going off. Again, such a big area. 2 of us ended up doing this. One starting at one end, one at the other end, and then just kept going over and over. It probably had several coats in the end, but it was drying quite quickly, so there was no breaks between the coats. This chassis, we used around about 5 litres of paint and 2.5 litres of hardener, so around about 7.5 litres went on here. I think what we've achieved is a really good finish for a truck that was so rusty and so poorly presented. So here's a finished article after the paint, and I think you'll agree, from how it looked previously, it looks 10 times better. I didn't mask anything when painting the chassis, because when they're in the factory, everything just gets painted over anyway. So just a few things I'll add for how much blast I used for that chassis. So I spent hours and hours blasting it. I brought a pallet, so I brought a ton, 40 bags of blast, and I've probably used around about 30 bags in total. It goes everywhere as well. So I had my full mask on, I had the hood up, tightened up, gloves on, overalls on, and it literally goes everywhere. So luckily I can do it outside here. I've been doing it in the evenings and stuff when no one's around, because the dust and everything. I even had the door shut and it still gets in here. I mean, it's still everywhere in here. So that's one thing, if you're going to do it, is bear it in mind. You don't want to be doing it on your driveway, because your neighbours are not going to be happy. These pots, I've just had a quick look, and you can pick them up for about as cheap as 120 quid online. Really good bits of kit. They are a bit fiddly. Again, you can't really run big media through this. This is why I went with a fine glass. Yeah, so I think I've covered most things. If you've got any other questions, drop a comment in there, and hopefully it helps someone. Thanks for watching. I hope this video is helpful to somebody who's thinking about doing something similar. Here's just a bit of a montage of the pictures of the process. I'm not very good at editing, so I hope that you find this video okay and it covers everything that you need to do. If you want to see any more of this build, then drop us a comment in, hit like, subscribe. Any feedback's appreciated. Thanks for watching.